No Jumper, coolest podcast in the world. And today I am in here with the one and only Fronzilla of Attila. How you doing, G?
Excellent. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's nice to have you in here, man. Like, our track record for metal and hardcore interviews, kind of weak. It's been a few years.
Do you have any hardcore metal guys?
White Trash Rob of Blood for Blood.
Okay.
Filmed while I was visiting my parents for Christmas and went to his like little attic area where he records his podcast. I'm not sure if he's still doing it. His Nodcast, actually. And then we did my friend Brendan and them who are in Long Island hardcore band Incendiary a couple years ago. So.
Oh, word.
It's been a while.
Yeah, well, I'm happy to break the cherry, I guess, or reopen a wound.
Reopen the wound. Definitely. So we were just talking about it, but what has your life been like for the last like 6 months? Because you are used to living a lifestyle of nonstop touring, but now you're posted up at home, I'm guessing.
It's wild, man. Like, since I was 16 years old, we've been touring nonstop, like at least 6 to 8 months out of the year.
Right.
And I've never had a break this long before, but it's not that bad, honestly. Like, I'm excited to be home. I live in Florida. The weather's perfect.
Right.
I've got a pool in my backyard and a basketball court in my backyard. So I feel like that's the only two things you need.
Sports and swimming.
We shoot hoops, we jump in the pool, and I get to see my kids a lot more, which is the best part of all.
Is it a situation for you normally where like you just kind of have tours thrown at you and you feel like you can't say no, or do you have people who are booking these tours aggressively to keep you on the road all the time?
Well, you're always going to have like the type of booking agents that want to keep you out all the time because that's how they make their coin.
Right.
But we have like blackout dates. Like, I'm like, these are both of my sons' birthdays, and I will not tour during their birthday because I have to be there.
Right.
But part of just being a full-time touring musician, like, I'm going to miss some holidays, and there's nothing I can do about it.
Right. I hear that.
But I realized, this was the cool thing I realized about this year. This is going to be the first year of my life that I don't miss a single birthday or a single holiday.
Right. Right, because normally you just kind of miss stuff because stuff ends up getting booked anyway.
Yeah, you can't turn it down. If you get a big opportunity,
right,
it's a lot of money. I can't say no.
Definitely. So people talk a lot about like, independent artists and how everybody doesn't make any money off Spotify and shit like that. Is touring like 80% of your income? Is it 50%? Like music wise, because we'll get into the OnlyFans biz at some point too. But music wise for like Attila, is touring kind of the whole thing?
Yeah, and I mean, I would say that goes the same for every single band in like hardcore and metal. Touring is where you're going to make like 80 or 90% of your income from. And then the other small percent is basically online merch sales, because Spotify and Apple Music don't pay shit, and there's not many like hardcore metal artists getting billions of views, right, or any. So
that's interesting. So yeah, we take me back in time, because like I remember when I first saw you guys' fucking videos and just having my mind kind of blown, because you guys were just like delving into lyrical styles and like music video styles, to put it lightly, that were like just not common in metal and hardcore at that time. What led you to creating Attila, and what were you in bands before that?
No, not really.
Right.
Attila is like my baby. I started Attila when I was 14 years old.
Wow.
And now I'm 30, so 16 years, same band. I'm the founding member.
Uh-huh.
The start of Attila is interesting because literally I grew up in Atlanta, and hip-hop rap influence was massive for me. Every radio station, all you hear is hip-hop. I loved it. I embraced it. But I liked the chaotic energy of heavy metal and stuff. And some of my cousins got me into like hard music, and I started going to hardcore shows up in New Jersey and stuff. So I when I started Attila, the idea was that I like the energy and the vibe of rap, but I like how hard metal hits.
Right.
And what's interesting for us is, at the time, in Atlanta, this is around 2004 when we started, I shit you not, like, I don't know why, but every single metal hardcore band was like a Christian band. And I don't know
that time period. I was not really paying that much attention around that time, but I remember hearing a lot about like the new wave of Christian metalcore.
So my whole thing from day one was just be true, be real, be yourself. None of us are fucking religious. So we're not going to try to fit into this like Christian metal trend. We like to party. We like to get fucked up. We like to fuck girls. we like rap, so we're just going to make our own version of metal. And it basically created this environment where we had shitloads of haters, but shitloads of supporters that related to us because no one else was doing what we did. So, you know, we kind of went off a totally different path than everyone else, but it eventually played into our favor.
Right. So what bands, like, sonically were you listening to at the time that influenced where you were at musically, not necessarily content-wise?
When we started, Pantera.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you were, like, more of a, like...
Southern metal, kind of.
Right.
Like, fuck everything, rebellious.
Right. And it's interesting because, like, when I watch your stuff now, it seems, the old videos, it seems kind of more... like hard to remember why it would have been so controversial, because it feels like, you know, the world has just changed a lot, and like having girls shaking their ass in your video probably shouldn't be that big a deal. But at that time, you know, like, you know, rap and like hardcore / metal have just like very different sort of cultural standards, and it was very like, it just stood out so much that I had never seen a hardcore group objectify women for the sake of their video. I'm sure those girls were all happy to be there,
of course,
but,
and paid.
Right, and paid. But like, you know, and even just like talking about drinking or saying like, you know, you're a bitch or you're a cunt or whatever. It was just like, you know, when I think about a lot of the metal I grew up listening to, it was just sort of like, you know, lyrically, you wouldn't really be able to sort of necessarily figure out what they were talking about on first listen. Like, it was much more sort of just masked in like poetry and whatnot. And you guys were much more just like hip hop, just sort of like saying what you were up to.
Yeah, exactly. And there's definitely a double standard with the genres, because I don't fucking know why. My biggest question to this day is, why does like metal hardcore have to be such a like sacred, like everyone is preaching about being holier than thou and like preaching positivity or trying to like move this big message? And I'm like, I'm looking at all these fucking artists out here and I'm like, you guys are fake as shit, because when you step off that stage, you're some of the worst people I've met.
Really?
Like just terrible people singing about being so fucking holy and better than everyone. And I'm just like, we sing about partying, fucking bitches, like, you know, whatever. And we're nice. Like, we're just keeping it real. Like, why did we get judged for being a hardcore metal band that sings about content like rappers would sing about, when
your actual lives, as opposed to
our
like
actual lives?
The weird thing in hardcore, and like it hit me like very early on, was that I had like a couple generations of bands I was into, and then they would sort of start to wither away, and then you have a new crop of bands, and I'm like, oh, so like this is what life as a hardcore fan is going to be like, is that there's just going to be a new crop of like 17-year-old kids who want to tell you about how someone stabbed them in the back and how dope it is that they're straight edge and vegan and shit. And it's like, I didn't have to be in the scene for very long before I started to realize like, oh, like this is kind of bullshit. Like these people are like clearly going through a period in their life where they feel like it's like, this is like their coping mechanism to like sort of go through this period in their life, but it kind of like didn't hold my attention for that long. Not to say that every hardcore band is like that, but there is a lot of that.
No, you're right. There is a lot of that, and that's where Attila comes in for all the people that don't want to like bitch and whine about their problems or hear like some fake positivity from someone who really isn't a good person. You know, like we just keep it real. Like, we're the music you can throw on at a party. We're the music you can, you know, whatever, get fucked up to, have a good time. Like, basically, like, forget about your worries. I think a lot of music makes you, like, focus on your worries, and maybe kind of low-key makes you more depressed.
Right.
But we're people's outlet. Like, you have no idea how much I get hit up, someone saying, like, bro, I just went through, like, the worst breakup ever, but your music saved me, because we're just don't give a fuck. Like, fuck everyone.
Right.
Like, do yourself. And I think people resonate with that, like, for, I don't know, more so than sad stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, it is kind of odd to think that like partying or like anything sort of positive, or not that partying is inherently positive, but anything that's sort of like attempted to like be more lighthearted and fun. Like, I, you know, from my childhood, I remember like we were Throwdown fans. And dude, Throwdown was so controversial within that sort of straight edge scene because they just clearly were a lot more lighthearted with it. And what was the Baby Got Back cover that they did?
Yep.
That was like a huge moment in terms of like a lot of the straight edge bands we're listening to, because it was so unnerving for us to see a band being like a hardcore straight edge band being, you know, funny and doing this goofy ass cover that eventually got so fucking big that it just was kind of annoying. But that kind of became at a certain point that was like
huge.
Everybody's Throwdown song that they downloaded off Napster.
Yep.
Yeah.
I remember that period. There was a lot of judgment, and it was kind of hard to be Attila during that period because we were the only band kind of straying from the path. But you know, the biggest example I can give you is our biggest album, About That Life. When we released it, we were doing our first Warped Tour. It was 2014, I believe. And when we released that album had so much rap influence. It had so much like just edgy, offensive material. When we dropped it, I swear I felt like the whole world hated it. I felt like I failed, kind of, you know? All the reviews, all the press, all the magazines, everyone wrote the worst shit about us. And then I swear like 3 months went by and it became our biggest album ever and everybody loved it. So it was kind of like, did all this negative press turn around and bring an audience to us that actually likes it now? Like the negativity helped us almost. And I remember that year on Warped Tour, it was our first Warped, so we were only supposed to do half of Warped. And then about a week before we were supposed to ditch and go home, Kevin Lyman comes up to me and is like, yo, can you guys do the whole Warped Tour? Because you're killing it right now. Like,
really?
We want you to just stay on, please. And we were just like, no. Like, we got plans. Sorry. Like, you should have let us do the whole thing to begin with.
But is that how they book Warped Tour, or how they used to book Warped Tour, is that they would only have you on for a percentage of the whole thing at first?
Not always. It was just a thing with like newer bands. Like if it was your first time on Warped, they'd give you like half or select dates. And then the only other rule with Warped was that you can't play main stage 2 years in a row.
Really?
So if you play main stage, you got to take off a year.
Wow.
But you can play 2 years in a row if you upgrade stages like Monster to main.
Do you think I missed out on something big in my life by never having gone on Warped Tour? I feel like...
Bro, you never went to Warped Tour?
I went when I was 14 and watched from the crowd, but I never like went on Warped Tour.
Oh, okay.
I feel like being a band on tour would just...
You never went to Warp? What the fuck?
I did go one time, and I don't know that I remember it that fun because it was just so unbelievably hot. And I was still very much at the age where I was just standing around watching the mosh pits with just my jaw dropped. Like, what the fuck is wrong with these people? And I saw Eminem perform, too, and they threw shit at him until he got off stage.
Yeah, how fucking crazy is that?
That sounds kind of... And Black Eyed Peas, too.
Damn.
They played, too.
I mean... You didn't miss out on much because it is like the most grueling tour to be on, like when you're touring on it. Like It's so hot that the buses break down every day. You're sweaty as shit. You have to go shit in a porta potty every day. Like, it's not a comfortable tour. It's not glamorous, but it's an opportunity for bands to play in front of a huge audience that they wouldn't normally have. And I don't know. It's just a whole community of people. And that's why I was really like disappointed when Warped Tour went away, and that's why I wanted to be the person that brings Warped Tour back. Really?
So that's still a conversation or a possibility?
So this is probably the biggest question I ever get asked is like, yo, Franz, when's Warped Tour coming back? But the reality of it is I can't disclose too much information, but for legal reasons, Warped Tour cannot come back for another 3 years or so. And me and the founder, Kevin Lyman, are actually good friends. A lot of people don't know that, but the reason is for the 4 years we did Warped Tour, I was hustling my clothing company, Stay Sick, on Warped as well. So I was awake bright and early every morning. And no band dudes wake up in the morning. All band dudes wake up sometime in the afternoon. But I was the first person in a band to be awake every single morning, and Kevin saw that and respected me for wanting to work hard and push my brand and grow myself. So we became friends, and he likes to drink beer too, so we ended up drinking beer all the time and just having conversations. And I'll never forget, it was probably like Warped Tour 2017 maybe, or 2018. He pulled me aside in San Diego and was like, Franz, like, do you want to buy Warped Tour? Like, do you want to take over? Like, I'm done. And he threw out a number. The number was a little beyond what I had at the moment, but just the thought of that really, like, it never left me because I wanted to do it. And I retouched conversation with him shortly after just to be like, hey, I'm serious. Like, I want to do this because Warped Tour was important for me growing up, and I know it's important for our current generation and future generations. And I'm very much a businessman, so I want to be the one that takes on Warped Tour. And we had a conversation probably, I don't know, 3 months ago, I would say. 3 or 4 months ago, and he explained to me that for legal reasons, which I can't go into depth, Warped Tour can't come back for at least another 3 years or so. But after that, I'm happy to reopen conversation, and hopefully I'm the one that brings it back because I have a really good plan for how to make it sustainable and make Warped Tour even bigger than it's ever been.
Definitely. Do you think that that's been a huge blow to the sort of guitar-based music world in general? Because that was always kind of like the main stage, especially for bands who aren't necessarily big enough to do their own massive tours and stuff. It just like probably helped incubate a shitload of bands over the years.
It did. It really did. And I can speak on behalf of myself and Attila. It helped us out a lot. And I would hate for bands to miss out on that opportunity. So, yeah, I think it was a crucial tour. And now that it's gone, it's kind of like, what the hell do we do every summer?
Right.
I mean, obviously now it's COVID, so we're not doing anything at all. But before this pandemic started, Warped Tour was the tour of summer. And any bands or any other festivals that tried to compete with Warped failed.
Right.
Or at least suffered a loss, because Warped was always the biggest.
Right.
I just think that, like, from my experience on Warped Tour and my knowledge, that I could have carried the torch and made it better, essentially.
Definitely. Is part of the reason why they're scared to come back, I feel like I read this a while ago, is that basically there could potentially be a lot of like pending lawsuits that they might have had to deal with, or that, like, you know, because basically like the standard of what was considered acceptable all through the 90s and 2000s on tour and stuff, that there's probably a lot of stuff that happened with band dudes and whatnot. Like that's kind of what I heard, was just that there's a lot of liability that might have come around to screw Warped Tour over.
No, you're absolutely right. The lawsuits were a big thing, but on top of that, I think Kevin Lyman is just an older gentleman. He's been around for a while. I think social media kind of killed it, because he started using Twitter a lot and stuff, and he would read everything and respond to everything. And a lot of people, of course, you know, social media, people just go on to talk shit to you. So people are on there talking shit to Kevin Lyman every day. So he's on his phone half the day stressing out about all these people complaining. But you put someone like me in control of the tour,
who is very, very numb to the hatred, right?
I'm numb. I've gotten talked shit to every day of my fucking life, every single day. So my focus would just be running the tour, making sure everyone is happy, and I wouldn't care if someone was like, "Hey, fuck you, Franz," like whatever. I'd be like, "Cool."
Right. When you look at what made Attila successful, though, because like when you talk about waking up early in the morning to sell merch and all this kind of stuff, it's like, do you put it on like yourself, just sort of having this vision of how to build this band up, or do you sort of chalk up a lot of it to you just having this work ethic that maybe a lot of other people don't have?
Literally, I'm unlike anyone else. I have a work ethic that no one in music really has. Like, no offense to everyone else, oops. But no, I grew up as an entrepreneur, and I always knew how to like hustle and make way for myself. My parents told me from day one, like, we're not going to give you anything. Like, if you want something, like, work hard, get it. And I appreciate that, because it turned me into who I am. But yeah, I mean, most musicians are just very like strictly music, art focused, and when it comes to business, like, they could be getting screwed over for all they know, and they would just have no clue.
And there's like a thing in rock music, I feel like, or at least in like hardcore and shit, where to make a lot of money is like really kind of looked down upon. And, you know, people will like go out of their way to sort of like not share how much their band gets paid and stuff. I remember back in like 2003 that a dude who like booked like a Bane show told me that they got $2,500 for the night, and I'm like sitting there mind blown. Like I'm like
that it was so little.
No, there was so much. I'm like, they must be so rich. Like I'm going through the numbers in my head. I'm like, that's fucking crazy. Like, but that's hardcore and metal. They're like, you know, people just kind of, I don't know. A lot of the fans are too young to really know about the financial side of having to make it work. Because like when I think about it now, obviously, $2,500 to drive between cities with 5 guys plus like everybody else that's involved with the tour, etc. It's really probably turning a relatively small profit after that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of part of it too. Like running a successful clothing company. I remember like being on hardcore message boards and shit that it would seem like the guys who are running popular clothing lines immediately started to be treated like they were fucking robber barons who were just stealing from the scene, you know?
No, for real. Like the only, like I tell this to everyone, especially in like the hardcore metal scene. If you want to sustain yourself and be able to make good income doing what you're doing, you have to have multiple sources of income. And it doesn't have to mean like, hey, follow my blueprint, like start a clothing company, start an OnlyFans. It could mean anything. Like some people are good at making graphic designs. That's something you can do while you're on the road. Pop your laptop open, make graphic designs. Some people can do video editing, lyric videos. Like some people can be a producer on the side when they're home. Like literally just figure out a way to make extra sources of income beyond music, because if you want to start a metal or hardcore band and you expect to make like a healthy, handsome living off of it, you're not. Like it's just not a thing. And I never went into this genre expecting to make money, and I think that's what sets me apart from a lot of people nowadays that just view the idea of I'm going to be rich and famous, like I'm going to be in a band or I'm going to be a musician or whatever. That's not a thing. Like I did it because I loved music, and for the first 6 years Attila was a band, I didn't make a penny, but I didn't care. I was just traveling across the whole country and getting fucked up with my friends and getting tons of pussy. Like I can't complain. Like that was cool. I didn't want to make money. I just wanted to have fun. But I think like the turning point for me was when I was 21, I had my first kid, and I was like, oh shit, like now I need to make money for someone else. And I'm not even really making money. And I think that's when my business brain tuned in and I said, hey, like how can I create a sustainable future for my kid? I want him to be like in a good environment. So I started working a lot harder and partying slightly less maybe. And then, but yeah, I mean, I suggest that to everyone. I try to help out all my friends too and give them ideas of ways they can create extra income, because yeah, our music genre doesn't really make money.
Do you feel like has it gotten smaller throughout your time being involved with it? Like from your perspective, is the scene growing or dying?
To be honest, I think it's just like everything else. It goes through waves, you know? And I think right now, I think we might be at a low point, but I think that like when you look at the current world climate, like pandemic, like crazy political issues, all of this is usually about the time that like rock and roll and punk rock in general starts coming right back up. So it's kind of just like, are you able to withstand the waves and continue on and succeed, or are you going to be crushed by this below and the pandemic's going to ruin your band and you're not going to be able to go back to touring?
It's kind of crazy because now I feel like there's so little guitar-based music on the radio that, like, for me as a kid, you know, I'm listening to all these like alternative and rock bands when I'm like 13, and then that leads me to being like, okay, well, Blink-182 is cool, but I want to find out about all these other punk bands, and I want to find, you know, Metallica's cool, I want to find out about all these harder metal bands. So all of a sudden I'm learning about black metal and death metal and hardcore and grindcore. It almost feels like on a mainstream level there's not necessarily like a good entry point. Like I feel like the scene is kind of set for that, in the sense that you could imagine like a rock band coming out and being like huge, massive stars, but it sometimes it feels like, and especially with, you know, rap has gotten ridiculously huge, dance music was fucking huge for a while. It feels like sometimes like the guitar-based stuff, like it just, there's no entry point.
You're right, it's tough, but I think for me personally, the coolest thing that I've noticed, especially the past couple years, is the influence of rock in rap and the influence of rap in rock.
Okay.
And I think that like I like both genres. I like rap equally as much as I love metal and hardcore. But I think that's the coolest thing for me is seeing the genres kind of like blend a little more than they used to, because before it was a taboo thing. It was like one or the other, but now it's kind of like, hey, we can exchange like styles, like whether it's like clothes, like styles within the music. It kind of all is starting to blend, which I like more, because I was always a big fan of Limp Bizkit and new metal and stuff like that, and like why shouldn't that be big?
Yeah, isn't that weird to think about? Because like Limp Bizkit were so dope to me when I was 13, but then by the time I like really started to learn about punk and hardcore and stuff, I all of a sudden couldn't rationalize being a proud Korn and Limp Bizkit fan. And then I remember like years later when I started to realize like, oh, there's guys who are my age that are not ashamed of their Limp Bizkit fandom. Maybe, because I feel like once you're a fan of something, you have no business ever acting like you're an elitist that can't be a fan of that thing. Even if it was your goofy ass 13-year-old self that likes something, you still like that. Like you can say I don't really like it the same way I used to, but you need to pay respect to that era in your life of that part of your personality that appreciated that music at that moment. Because even if you are a couple years removed and you're like, oh, I don't know why I like that shit, by the time you're like 10 years removed, you're going to be able to look at that shit and be like, you know what? That was dope,
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes we all have to admit that we like Chumbawamba and Tub Thumper at one point. Sucks to say, but whatever.
That's true, yeah. No, yeah, but that's fucking interesting too, because I just feel like there were so many more shared cultural moments back then where like, everybody knows that fucking Chumbawamba song, whether you wanted to or not. And that's just a much harder thing to pull off these days, because you can have a super popular, punk, like oi adjacent song like that doesn't carry through to the mainstream at all. Although, I mean, I don't know, like the internet is constantly trying to find new and interesting things. So maybe it would have been sort of elevated to a different level, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Hey, are you excited to be a dad soon?
I am excited to be a dad soon. How old are your kids?
I'm interviewing you now.
Yeah.
Mike, I have 2 boys. They're 9 and 4.
Okay, sick. How are they? They're Hellraisers?
They're awesome. Well, the older one's a sweet boy, the younger one's a Hellraiser.
Really?
So I think the younger one is going to become me.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, having a girl, I'm kind of like just wondering to what extent I'm going to, because I have so many things in my head that I'm going to do with my kids. But they're all things that like my dad did with me, and so it's kind of interesting. I'm trying to I actually said to my girl this morning, I'm like, you think our kid is gonna like Barbies? Because I just don't know if that's still like a thing with a lot of little girls.
Dude, you never know. Like there are girls that are into baseball and basketball, and there are boys that are into Barbies and want to wear pink. Like I think the best thing about being a parent is just being like open-minded and supportive of whatever your kid likes. And I think that's where like our generation comes into play, and like setting a better standard for the future generation is, instead of being like, yo, you can't play with the Barbie, you're a boy. Being like, hey, you want to play with the fucking Barbie? Like, go off, bro. Whatever.
Your kids paint their nails, the boys?
They don't. But my younger son that's like me, he used to love temporary tattoos. And every time I was like, where do you want to put it? Like thinking, oh, my arm.
He would
face, neck, hands. So one time me and his mom decked him out in temporary tattoos. Like we gave him hand tats, neck tats, face tat, and we sent him off to preschool. And probably freaked out all the other kids and the parents.
You don't get in trouble at preschool for that? I feel like that...
No,
why would you get in trouble?
They just know us because we're the wild ones. Like we,
okay,
we're wild. We roll up in the G-Wagons and drop the kids off, and fuck it, who cares? Like we're cool. We donate to the school.
Do you feel like the other parents look at you like you're a fucking weirdo? Because that's one thing I think about too. Is like I know I'm gonna start to have parents like parent friends. Like my kid is friends with some kid, so then I'm friends with his parents, but meanwhile, like I live this fucking weird ass life, and they're like the most stock people on earth, and I'm just sort of interested how that's gonna play out.
Yeah, be prepared to interact with a lot of normies, way more than you ever have before. I think that basically at first you'll get the weird look from the parent, but like the glue is that when your kids are friends, like when your daughter's friends with their daughter or whatnot, now they're homies. Like a
Anybody
wrestling
else
bell?
just hear a train horn or something? Or no, a bell?
It sounded like the WWE bell or like UFC.
That was so weird. What was that? I don't know. I think it might have. Was that from Yuri's fucking stream? It probably was.
Beat his
Why
ass.
can't we log out of his? What a dummy. Okay,
Let's go fight him.
Yeah, we should definitely fight Yuri later. Okay.
No, I'm just saying, like, when I walk into the preschool and I'm fully tattooed head to toe and probably wearing some questionable clothes about Satan or some shit.
Right.
I don't know. You'll get like weird looks at first, but then, once your kids are all playing at the playground and they're all doing their own thing and you're hanging out with the parents, you actually become good friends. And,
Right.
they'll invite you to parties. Like I go to like normie parent parties all the time with the kids where,
Right.
that's a fun part about being a parent. They're like, because everyone's kind of the same deep down in. They're like, yeah, like I'm so stressed from like the kids and blah, blah, blah. Like, let's just meet up and eat a bunch of food and get drunk.
Right.
And you're like, cool.
It must
Like,
feel weird to be friends with somebody on the basis of something so real. Like, oh, you don't have anything to gain from me. Like, you're not
Yeah.
like into the same music or like thing that I'm into. You just like
Exactly.
the only thing we have in like me. I'm not going to be able to help you out with your job at a doctor's office. It's like
Yeah.
most like such a huge percentage of people I meet act weird to me because I am potentially beneficial to them and I'm not oblivious to it.
Exactly. I think if anything, that's refreshing.
Yeah.
Because your parent friends are all going to be like doctors, dentists, whatever. So
Right.
nothing to gain from you. If anything, they just think it's like rad that you do what you do and it's like a topic of conversation, but like you said, with nothing for them to gain. So
Right.
they're not going to try to clout chase. They're in their own lane.
Right.
So I think that's probably another really cool part about being a parent, honestly.
Yeah, that is dope. Yeah, I wonder to what extent, because I mean, you're in Florida. There's a lot of fucking weird ass people in Florida. I'm in like the hills of Hollywood. I wonder, like,
So let me just
You
tell
know?
you first about Florida. There are a lot of weird people in Florida. That is fact.
but there's also a lot of the most
But
ordinary people you ever met too, right?
I live in Richville.
Right.
Like I live in a bubble. Like there's no weird rednecks, no one naked with alligators holding up
Right,
the
yeah.
gas station.
The Joe Exotics don't live in your area. Yeah.
No, they can't afford it.
Okay.
Like those do exist. Trust me, I could drive 1 hour away and see some ratchet shit. But in my area, it's basically the hills. Like, you know, same shit. Just
Yeah.
Florida.
I don't know anyone who lives in my area, or like, I wonder if there's any rappers who live in my area. I did see a Mac Miller video filmed like very near my house, and that kind of weirded me out. I'm like, oh shit, there might be rappers who live around here because apparently
What
Mac.
part do you live in?
No comment, but Mac Miller.
You can't say someone's gonna find you.
Yeah, no.
Can you say a general area?
Just the valley,
Okay.
I guess.
Cool.
I don't really know anything else surrounding my house anyway, so I would do a horrible job explaining.
I
it
don't
if
know
had
either.
to.
Whatever.
Okay, but so yeah, like bands usually have like a shelf life, and like you guys have held on for an unusually long time period. Like, what keeps you motivated to keep going with it?
The biggest way I explain my band to anyone and the reason we've been around so long is like we're a drug dealer with a specific type of drug that everyone's addicted to, but we're the only drug dealer that carries that drug.
And-
Because there's no other bands like Attila.
Like fun mosh bands.
Yeah, like no one is gonna sing about the shit I sing about and be like fun, party, heavy, mosh, rap, metal, all combined.
Right.
Because I've seen bands try it, and I'm supportive. Like if people want to try it, but every band that tries it that's not Attila, they get made fun of. They get like roasted, and they can't handle the heat and push through that boundary to become big, and then they just break up.
Right.
So it's the reason we've been around so long is because essentially my band is a cult.
Right.
And we're the only band that can provide that fix for our fans. So, and we've cultivated a fan base worldwide. Like some of our biggest markets are Russia, Germany. The biggest show we played that we headlined was in South Africa. Like we're worldwide. Like US is great for us, but it's not even our biggest market. US is just like whatever.
Wow.
So it's cool. Like we've been around so long because we've cultivated this like family essentially of fans that they know that we love them and they love us and they support us and we've got their back. And
I'm so fascinated by that because the way it typically works in rap music is that like you come out, you make a splash, and then your star continues to like fall from there. Like it's very much like a huge spike and then it's like a slow trickle off over time, and the ones who can blow up and get bigger or blow up and stay that big are very, very rare. Whereas in hardcore metal, a lot of times it's like the bands that come out and kill it and then consistently tour and kill it for 10 years, they'll be really big after the 10 years, but maybe it's like a very slow grind to sort of get to that level in a way.
Oh, of course. Like, I think the slow grind leads to a way longer career versus the burn and then crash.
Right.
Because even in my career with Attila, I've personally witnessed bands start, like, from scratch, blow up, get bigger than my band, and then a year or two later, they're done. They're crashed. And it's like, what would you rather, like, do the route that my band did where we slowly got bigger?
No, but
like,
you guys fucking came out with a huge splash too, don't you think? Like that was like it started kind of big and then managed to continue to grow from there?
Well, like,
because you guys were like viral back then.
Maybe to the public eye, because when we were doing the About That Life and stuff, like, I think that's when most people found out about us. So they might think we started then, but like, dude, we've been around for 16 years now, you know? So like the first 6 years were really slow and stagnant. I mean, we were growing bigger every year, but you know, that era popped us off and then we just kind of kept going. But it's been a very slow, steady incline for us versus the bands that blow the fuck up overnight and crash and they're gone. And I would rather just have the slow incline, but I think that's part of just, there's trends always within music, you know? And if you follow that trend, you might luck out and get that like pop off single and, you know, you're the hottest thing for the fucking month or the season. But if you just stay true to yourself, you're more likely to build like that cult fan base and have a longer career. And that's always what I wanted.
And you know, it's weird too, because hardcore metal live is really good. When it's good, it's really fucking good. Rap music live, I've said this a lot of times. Nobody's ever really given me shit for it, but rap music live, I mean, like some of the greatest rappers of all time are dreadful live. I mean, they put on a backing track and they come out and they walk back and forth, and it's just incredibly boring. And like the worst metal band you ever seen, who is popular, is still probably pretty tight on stage, and the crowd goes fucking insane, and it's just like a very different experience. Very
different, and I mean, yeah, like, say what you want, but when it comes down to it, most rappers, not all, most rappers will just play the backtracks, and it's kind of like a hype man scenario. And I'm sure it's still like most of the fans are happy. They're seeing their favorite person. It's hype, whatever. But with the music we play, like, we're physically playing every single note. Like, I have to like belt out those nasty ass screams and do all the shit I do for real. Like, you know, so there's no faking it. Like, we have to practice really hard and we have to perfect our craft. And, you know, I pride myself in our live show very much. Like, we've even had people that don't like my band because of whatever reason, or they've heard our songs, but they see us live and they love us because we create this experience and we have this energy where it doesn't matter who the fuck you are. You could be the grandma in the back row. You're going to jump up and down. Like, you're going to crowd surf. I don't give a fuck. Stage dive up here. Give me your fucking baby. I'm going to crowd surf your baby. I don't care.
You really crowd surf babies?
Yeah.
How old?
Like 7.
7 years old?
Yeah.
Oh,
chuck him in the crowd.
That ain't no baby. I'm picturing like a 6-month-old baby, and you're just sort of like gently placing her down. Like, you'd have to have so much faith in your mosh pit for that to work. Yeah. No, I respect that. Yeah, it is like, because like the thing is too is that like when a band over time just gets tighter and tighter and better on stage, and you can feel it. Like, you kind of have to be like very clueless to not be able to tell that they're tight on stage. Whereas like, you know, bands early on, it's like very difficult to get to that point.
Yeah.
Have you guys gone through a shitload of member changes over the years? Are you like the only consistent one, or?
We have had member changes, but not really a shitload. Like, from like, the way I explain it to people is from day one, like 16 years ago, I'm the only original. But we've been the lineup we've been, like the core lineup of me, Chris Link, Kalen Blem, the bass player, and guitarist. We've been that lineup for probably 10 years or more. Like, Chris forever, like Kalen probably 10 years. So we've been the core members for forever. So I don't even like think about it like that no more.
Gotcha. I was asking one of my friends who's a little deeper in the metal world, and his main question, I was like, you got any questions I should ask him? He was just like, ask him how the fuck he had so much money back in the day, because he just said that he was never able to really make sense of, I guess, the production quality of the videos and how you just seem to be balling in like the early days of the band and stuff. And he made it very clear. He said, do not let him slide around the question. I want to know how he had money before the band actually came to exist or whatnot.
So the real answer is I didn't have money ever. Like, I grew up in like a poor, regular, like middle class family, never had anything. When we started the band, I didn't even have a bank account or like a penny in my wallet, nothing. But like, I think what he's probably referring to is like the About That Life video,
right,
when we're flexing hard. Like, we're in a mansion, we got dope cars, bitches everywhere,
right,
throwing money. The real answer is no, we didn't have any money. It's just fake it till you make it.
Right.
Like same exact shit rappers do. Like flex real hard, look real big, rent your chains instead of buy them. Like, you know, whatever,
yeah,
and then flex, and then people like think of you as someone bigger than you really are. And I mean, honestly, it's just a genius marketing tactic, but. No, I didn't fucking have money back in the day. I was poor as shit.
Right. But you managed to do pretty well for yourself with the band and the clothing stuff and everything.
Yep.
So you consider yourself very comfortable now financially, which is probably not necessarily a level that a lot of people in your world get to.
Yeah, I'm very comfortable. And somehow during the pandemic, I've made more money than I've ever made. And it's kind of sad because I see like my fellow like people in the hardcore metal world complaining about money and like they don't know what to do, and I'm out here like thriving. But like I said, it's because I've always diversified myself. So I mean, I'm doing really well. Like, I started my clothing company Stay Sick in 2011. And this is like another big story I always tell people, because I think a lot of people try to follow my blueprint and they want to do what I did because they see, oh, Franz is rich, Franz makes a lot of money. But what they don't realize is when I started Stay Sick Clothing, the first 2 years, I ate shit. Like, I didn't make anything, but I was passionate about the clothes I made, so I stayed persistent. And then, sure enough, after 2 years of struggling, boom, it popped off. Now I'm making money, and it's just grown bigger every year since then. And you know, like you literally just, it doesn't matter what you do. Even if you're not even involved in music, create multiple sources of income. Figure out what you're passionate about, because that's what you're more likely to succeed at. Wake up an hour early every day, an hour earlier than normal. Suck it up. Do whatever you need to do. Focus on that passion. Create an extra passive source of income. Save your money. Invest it. Like, anyone can do what I did, because I'm not like there's no like hidden things about me. Like, I grew up poor, regular, and I created everything I've created on my own. So,
definitely. No, yeah, it makes sense, because like, you know, I have a lot of people who, you know, are in the early stages of starting, like, you know, a YouTube channel or a podcast or whatever, and they'll kind of, you know, ask me like, you know, I'm putting all this work, but it's not really like, nothing's really taken off or whatever. And my reaction to it is kind of, that's like where you're at right now. This is the whole thing. Like, toiling in obscurity is the whole thing. Like, you need to be very down to just do the content that you believe in for 2, 3, 4, 5 years.
Exactly.
If you really want to build something. And also, and I probably wouldn't say this to somebody, but there's also a good chance that it's just not you. That like this, maybe you're not the person. Maybe you know, talking to a random person. Maybe you're not meant to have a successful band. Maybe you're not meant to have a successful YouTube channel, but you need to be like not only grinding out the content, but also keeping your mind aware enough to think, when this is not working, what is working. You know, I did the BMX thing for 10 years and, you know, made enough money to live off of it, but realistically was just not really like saving money at any point, because I was just blowing through everything that I had, just trying to grow or whatever. Then I started doing rapper interviews, and that's when it really started to take off. But I had to like grind out all that BMX content while also keeping my mind open enough to realize that I had to, like, you know, keep an eye open for other things that might work, you know?
Of course. And I'm sure, like, even when you started doing the rap interviews, it probably wasn't huge at first. You probably had a low amount of subscribers. There wasn't that many people watching.
Oh, yeah.
Persistence is key because most people, they just physically can't do like 1 to 3 years of not succeeding.
Working
they just
your ass
give
off
up
and
right
losing
away.
money is very hard
Yeah.
for people, but it's, I mean, that's
Dude,
the
I've
reality.
lost so much money pursuing my dreams. Like, I forget how many years ago this was, 6 years ago, I thought that I was going to create this revolutionary social media app. And I dumped like 30 or 40 grand into this app. And at one point we had a large amount of users, which I could have like sold it, like it was doing well. And then all of a sudden out of nowhere, like poof, gone, like no one cared. And it was just like, cool, that was a $30,000 or $40,000 learning mistake for me, but I learned from it, I grew from it. But with anything you start, you have to be persistent. Like you have to keep going. Like no one's YouTube channel is going to blow up in a year. No one. You've got to do it for many years. No one's band is going to blow up after a year. You have to do it for many years. Your clothing company you want to start, it's not going to get big.
Right.
It might in 3 years, but are you going to be the person that can stick with it for 3 years? Or are you the type of person that after 3 or 4 months or even a year, you're like, oh, fuck this. Like, I'm not making money. I'm working too hard. Like, the people that succeed are the people that push through it. Because if you do something long enough and you're actually passionate about it and you're not faking it for money, you will succeed.
And what they don't tell you is that once you're successful, it's actually harder.
Oh yeah, more money, more problems, dude.
Yeah.
I like miss being poor. We wrote a song about that on the on the new Attila album. It's called Broken Happy, and I'm just talking about how like back in the day when I didn't have a bank account or money, life was more fun because I didn't have to pay taxes. I didn't make fucking money. Like I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to worry about all the hundreds of things I have to worry about now, like adult shit.
Yeah, and this is like once you actually make it somewhere, then you have something that is at risk. You have to you have a standard that people are holding you to. And you have the dynamic where you have your old fans that you want to keep happy and you want to appeal to a new audience. And eventually your audience can become kind of like segmented up into stuff where you feel like you can't win or lose because you can make content that one chunk of your audience is going to love and another chunk of your audience is going to hate. And at this point, No Jumper, I feel like is that big that even our biggest W's come with a big chunk of the audience that is going to be like, no, fuck that. I don't like that. I wish it was still this,
Of course.
Yeah.
But I think honestly, like the 50-50 hate to love ratio is really what causes the most buzz. Like the last album Attila released got way more love than I expected. And it like low-key bummed me out because I wish there was more hate because the hate is what fuels like even more people to listen to it.
Right.
So I don't know. It's weird, but that's the fucking world.
But you guys have a weird transitional element to the band where when you guys came out, it was very much the era of offensive shit sells. Like put some offensive shit on a shirt and kids are going to love that. Like, say some fucking dirty shit in a song. They're going to go crazy for it. Now it feels like everybody in the fucking, well, you tell me if I'm wrong or not, but it feels like a huge percentage of people in the hardcore metal world have gone full activist and are constantly looking for something to get offended by something. Not to say that there's never legitimate stuff to get offended by, but it's like, it just feels like a very different climate for the type of stuff that you guys do.
You're absolutely right. It's very much true. And that's what makes it difficult for a band like Attila because we're not bad people. Like we're good people. We're pushing for the same causes that everyone else is pushing for right now. Our music is just fun. Like we're being real. Like we don't have to. If I turned fucking Attila into an activist band, no one would fuck with it. It would be so strange. Like there's got to be at least one band like having fun and fucking shit up. Like and that's my band. Like. Someone's got to do it.
It must be kind of hard to like stick with it at a certain point though, because I'm sure you feel like the pressure, like you have people getting offended by certain lyrics still and like kind of pressure on you to say something about it, or have you just very much accepted your niche?
I've accepted the niche, but also it is stressful just being in this genre. But I think our plan, I haven't like publicly announced this ever, but I think our plan is just to fully transition into like a fucking rap group and kind of just disassociate because our guitarist is now a rap producer, and he's been working with Lil Yachty. He's been working with Rob Banks, Kay Sachi, like a lot of people, and he's been building a lot of connects. And all these people fuck with Attila. They love the music we're making. So now it's just kind of like, you know, and I'm doing a lot of rap stuff as well and collaborating with these artists. So it's just like, I've been involved in the rap world. Now my guitarist is a rap producer. Like, fuck it, like let's just transition into that. Like, it won't be rap like as the world sees it. It's basically just going to be rap with like heavy metal, you know. And maybe if we can like just kind of push away from all the stigmas and the negativity that is in like the hardcore metal scene right now, we can kind of branch out and be ourselves even more, stay true even more, but maybe just be in a space where we're accepted more, where people aren't gonna like tarnish us because we don't want to have like every single song about activism. We want to have a song, you know, that's fun.
And it's crazy too, because it's like the rappers are so not held to that standard. Like, rappers can talk about doing drugs, fucking girls, etc., beating somebody's ass, shooting somebody's house up.
That's the most fucked up
nobody
shit.
Cares. Yeah.
And it's a fucking top 20 hit. It's on the radio. Wet ass pussy, like raunchy shit. Like, it's fucking globally accepted. But I sing about the same exact shit over heavy metal music, and I'm the villain. I'm the worst person in the world. Fuck me. It's like, bro, like, I'm having fun. Like, come on.
I'm trying
like,
to imagine if you had a song where the chorus was you saying that I'm going to pull up to your house and shoot you, and how that would go over. Like, how it would be viewed and how differently it would be viewed. Whereas like Lil Yachty, who presumably has never pulled up to somebody's house and shot them, he could just have a bar where he says, I'm going to pull up to your house and shoot you. And it's like, everybody takes it, knows that it's all good. It's funny.
It's fucking awesome.
He's just having fun. Yeah.
Right before a breakdown, I'm going to pull up to your house and shoot you.
That does sound hard, yeah. I'm into that. Were you ever an Unbroken Wings fan?
Yeah.
That was because I used to hang out
John
with them.
Blake. That's my boy.
John Blake is the shit. Yes. That I used to like
pull your fucking teeth out.
Right, because you guys kind of seem like a more exaggerated version of what they were doing at a certain point. Because like I went on this one tour.
Johnny Cupcakes.
Yo, right, yes. Johnny Cupcakes was the first person I ever seen with a fucking sidekick in like 2003. I was on tour with Bury Your Dead and Unbroken Wings, and he had the sidekick.
Love Bury Your Dead too.
Yes, that was a great era, very Massachusetts fucking hardcore era. Because the singer of Bury Your Dead at the time worked at a Friendlies, and motherfuckers who were into hardcore used to go to the Friendlies and take photos with him just because they thought it was funny that he worked at the Friendlies. So I always thought that was
hilarious.
Cool, yeah. That was very much like a, you know, sort of like beginner era. I feel like of like you know, mosh friendly, like sort of humor infused hardcore and metal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so how did you start selling that D?
Selling that D.
Yeah.
We're talking about porn.
OnlyFans. Yeah. How did you get into that? Because I feel like being in a band and sort of like carelessly giving away your dick to like hundreds of different girls a year probably helped prepare you for that.
Well, to be 100% honest, it literally just made perfect sense. Rock stars fuck porn stars. That's what we do. Right. Like, if I'm fucking porn stars and Playboy models on the reg, shit, I might as well become a part of the community and start doing porn myself and making some money myself, because I'm not scared of showing my dick and like, you know, I've got a good dick, like might as well do it. So it kind of just made sense. But the bigger reason was I started going to AVN 2 years ago. My roommate, who works for my clothing company and my record label, he also works for Sex Panther, which is like a porn company. Right. And he, 2 years ago, before I even started doing porn, he was like, hey, like, does Attila want to host like the official after party for AVN in the penthouse, like Floyd Mayweather's penthouse? And we were all like, duh, fuck yeah. Like, we get to party and hang out with porn stars. Fuck yeah, let's do it. And we went. And then I think I realized at that moment, I was like, damn, these porn girls are like way cooler than a lot of these like shady band dudes I meet. Like they're real. They're just like, you know, and even like other girls, like they're just very straightforward. Like, hey, like, do you want to fuck? Like, hey, can I suck your dick? I was like, whoa, this is cool. Like, I like this porn world.
But now I feel like it's like, hey, like, I'll suck your dick, but can you film it for my OnlyFans? Like, that's like a normal fucking conversation when you hook up with a porn star. I feel like at this point, like, if I was still single and still just like meeting random porn stars on Twitter, I would just kind of be expecting them to be like, I can just put this on my OnlyFans, right? Like, nobody's gonna know it's your dick, so who cares, right?
Well, they're gonna know it's my dick because my dick's tattooed.
Yeah. Oh, the whole dick.
Not the whole dick, but like down the shaft, I have a pretty large tattoo, so I can't be a stunt dick.
Yeah, I have the whole pube area, so I was never really going to be able to get away with it anyway.
Yeah. But no, it just made sense because the first year I went to AVN, I just really loved the community. Like, I loved all the porn girls and the porn guys, and just like the vibe was really good. So I started like making friends with a lot of people in the industry, and then I've been doing OnlyFans and doing porn for pretty much a year now, like a little under a year. And it just made sense to me. I was just like, I love this. I know a lot of porn stars. Like, let's just run it. Let's do it. And I started it, and I was just like, wow, this is really fun and really lucrative, and it's great. Like, I get to make connections with so many people, like, no matter what city I'm in or where I'm at. Like, I've got 3 or 4 shoots booked, like, even one like right after this interview. Like, it's cool, you know? Like, I fucking love it. It feels like something I'm just as passionate about as music, basically. Like, I'm not being fake to do porn. I'm just being myself. Like, I'm a sex addict. I love to fuck all the time. And I'm not shy about my dick or how I fuck, so I might as well film it and show everyone. So
no, I feel like I kind of feel like I turned a corner yesterday because me and my girl were filming some OnlyFans stuff for this new thing that we have coming out, and we had this girl, and my girl was like, eat her ass on camera, and we had like a real film crew and shit. And so me and my girl are eating the girl's ass on camera together, and I'm just thinking like, yo, I never ate ass or pussy on camera ever before in my life. And now I'm just like, yeah, of course I'm going to do it, because now I've kind of like accepted in my head, like, okay, I am a real porn star. I got to do all the porn star stuff. And, you know, yeah, I feel the same way where it's like people want to act like you're like compromising part of yourself, because we're both in the same position where we both have money from other things. So it's like sometimes people would be like, oh, like, the other thing you're doing must be falling off because you're doing this porn thing.
Exactly.
The reality is that the thing I'm doing is just fine. It's just that OnlyFans money, trust me, it's stupid. It's not like other money. It's huge. It falls from the sky like you're on fucking The Price is Right. Like, it just blankets you. I haven't even really like got into it fully, but the bag is stupid. Like, it's not like a regular ass bag that you have to work really hard at. You know, it's, and for me personally, like, I have no qualms about it. I like doing it. It's fun, you know? I would have fucking banged these girls with my girl anyway, you know?
Exactly. I have no qualms about it at all. I love fucking. I love making cool videos, coming up with cool themes. Like, it's perfect. I love OnlyFans. It does really well. Like, why wouldn't I do it? But you're right. The biggest thing is people coming at me all the fucking time saying, oh, you're doing OnlyFans because, like, like everything else isn't doing good. Bitch, everything's doing good. The biggest complaint I get is people being like, stop posting with porn stars. Focus on music, bro. Focus on music. And I'm like, dog, I wrote and recorded a full Attila album during quarantine. And I wrote and recorded a full Bone Crew album for my side project during quarantine. And I've done numerous guest features on rappers, like other people's stuff. I've made more music in 2020 than I've made in my life, and people have the audacity to say, make some fucking music, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, bitch, I've made more music, and I'm doing porn now, so fuck off. It's quarantine. I can't tour. I physically can't tour legally.
Yeah.
Like, fuck off. I like porn. I'm passionate about it. If you don't want to watch it, don't click the link.
People tend to overestimate how much time doing porn really takes too, because a lot of times, like, me and my girl will have a shoot booked with some girl, and it takes longer for my girl because she got to do her makeup and stuff, but it will literally be me sitting on the couch smoking a blunt, watching TV, and then I like walk into the room, get a boner. It takes like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and then that's it. And that's the whole thing. I just had to be home to like work for, like, you know, maybe I'm home for an hour or two to just do that content. And it's like I sometimes I'll do 2 or 3 interviews and then I go do that, and it's so nothing and so almost guaranteed to make much more money than the 3 interviews I did. That it reminds me though of like, this is important though. Like, you're doing No Jumper not because of the money, but because you actually feel like it's important, you know?
Of course.
Yeah.
And it's the same for me. Like, I do music because that's my passion. I'm never going to give up music or stop doing it. Do I make more money from doing porn on OnlyFans? Fuck yeah, I do. Like, my OnlyFans is popping. People want to see me fuck porn stars, like the rock star porn star combo. It's sick. But I'm not going to stop making music. I'm still going to write music. I'm still going to tour as soon as the world lets me. So like, sometimes I just want to scream like, hop off my fucking nuts. Hop off my fucking nuts,
That
bro.
sounds like an Attila chorus though. Hop off my fucking nuts. I could see that. But yo, so does it make like dating kind of weird, or like talking to girls normally kind of weird? Because sometimes when like I'm in a relationship, but if I wasn't, sometimes it just feels like, it feels weird to think that I spent so much of my life like trying to pursue women and to try to like, you know, basically convince them to have sex with me. And now it's like, it's nothing. It's like, oh, this is clearly beneficial to both of us. We do it, we film it, and then the dynamic is just so different.
You two have a good dynamic, but no, I totally agree. Like, well, first of all, I'm single. Hi, ladies. No, I'm single, but like, if I am talking to someone and I'm interested, my big thing is just full honesty and transparency, because I think like a character that's failed me in my past is just not necessarily like always lying, but just maybe hiding stuff that I should have been more upfront about. But I'll tell people, I'll be like, yeah, like this is what I do. Like, I do porn. I have an OnlyFans. And I'll tell them the amount I make. I'll be like, I make a ton of money. Like, right. I don't think this is like a forever thing, but for the time being right now, I'm having a lot of fun doing it, and it's setting me up for an even more prosperous future. So I think that the real ones will recognize and be like, oh, cool. And, you know, if people don't accept that, that's fine. But also at the same time, I don't even think I've met a girl that doesn't have OnlyFans themselves, so it's kind of like,
we live in a bubble where we think that, because like there's so many normal girls that don't, but I agree that like 90% of the girls that I meet pretty much have one, and the ones who don't are constantly being asked, when are you going to get an OnlyFans?
Exactly.
And some of them it's like very, very annoying, like that they just don't want to be perceived that way, which is totally fine, but it's like it's a constant question, I feel like.
But I just also, I wonder this question, but like, how the fuck would I ever meet a normal girl? Because I'm like, I have face tattoos. I look fucking crazy. Like, what normal girl at fucking Trader Joe's or whatever is going to pop up to me and be like, hey, like, they're looking at me like, get that dude the fuck away.
Yeah, you or I are like magnets for the OnlyFans type.
Exactly.
I feel like, you know, like
exactly.
They could kind of just smell it on us. Like, oh, he looks like a dirtbag. Yeah.
Yeah, they want the fully tattooed, like felon-looking dudes to come fuck them for their OnlyFans.
Yeah. I've been thinking like, I just need to like fully just get ripped, because that's the main thing that separated me from like a Johnny Sins, besides the fact that he's apparently extremely good at his job, is that like he's in sick shape. Like, he looks like a fucking bodybuilder. A lot of these black dudes, they look like fucking linebackers. They're in such good shape.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like that's the part of the equation that I'm not holding down. And so every time I'm staring down a bowl of chips right now, I'm kind of thinking like, this is one step away from like the 6-pack version of yourself that would probably be a much hotter commodity on OnlyFans.
I actually completely agree, because I'm kind of like a lanky dude. Like, I've just got like an overall lanky build, but all my weight goes to like my stomach. So I've got like a little dad bod type shit going on, but it hasn't affected anything. Like, no one's been like, hey, like, I don't want to fuck you because like you got a little bit of a dad bod. They're kind of just like, hey, that means you're probably like, I don't know, nice.
Like, you don't have to do this. Like, the guys are in sick shape because that's all they do is porn. It makes sense. If you don't have to be in good shape, it's almost kind of a flex, you know? Yeah, that's real. Yo, but AVN's like, next time they do it, which is definitely not going to be this year, but probably next year, hopefully, it is going to be really interesting, because now all of a sudden there's going to be so many more girls who are doing OnlyFans stuff who have never shot for a real porn company, and so many dudes who are kind of in the game now too, who again have never shot for a real porn company. It's like the clientele, and I mean, I went to AVN once, and then I went once again and did not go to the awards show or the convention, and just played poker like a fucking degenerate. But I just think that's going to be the porn world, like people are not. I don't think people are paying attention to how much this shit is changing.
Yep.
Because like, dude, like I remember having a conversation even like a couple of years ago about like I would never ever do porn, and now it's like I don't even think twice about it. Like it just doesn't even seem that crazy.
Of course.
Yeah.
I agree, and the world is changing because you've got these mainstream people in mainstream porn, and that's like what they've gotten put into and what they've been doing like long before OnlyFans, and now OnlyFans comes out, and all of a sudden you've got creators on OnlyFans making 10 times as much as these mainstream porn stars. And it's weird because when the mainstream porn stars, I find, like get into OnlyFans, some of them do really well, and like of course not discrediting, but sometimes people are like, well, why would I pay to subscribe? I can just watch for free on Pornhub or X videos. So it's weird. It's, I came in at a good time because I've never done mainstream porn, and I don't think I ever would, because I think my biggest thing is creating that mystery and that allure, because I'm not famous for porn. Like that's not why I'm famous. Like I'm famous for music and being in a band. So my goal is to keep my dick completely hidden from the internet, unless you join my OnlyFans. And I think that curiosity is what helps my OnlyFans personally, and I like to keep that curiosity.
It's crazy that we didn't realize how valuable our dicks were prior to this. Like I never would have thought that many people would want to pay money to see my penis involved. Obviously, it's mostly about the girl, but I mean, it's just very interesting. Like that was something that never really occurred to us before. And I even, some of the male porn stars that I've researched who kind of had a little bit of like a mainstream celebrity thing. It's just, I feel like they were perceived very differently even 5-10 years ago than the way that dudes who do this shit now are. Like I feel like the world is ready for like mainstream male porn stars to just be the guys who are out there doing that. I don't know.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's time, baby. The porn takeover. Subscribe to my OnlyFans.
Are you seeing a lot of smaller bands who are like, there's guys in the bands who are like doing it as well?
No, dude.
Really?
Honestly, I haven't seen, as far as like my genre goes, like hardcore metal, I haven't seen a single person join OnlyFans.
Wow.
And I think honestly, like we talked about how my genre is very like, positivity and this and that, like activism. I think that a lot of my genre like probably hates me now because I do OnlyFans, but the reality is like I'm doing what I love. Like I'm not doing it for like a money grab. I'm doing it because I like it and it's fun. And especially now, I started it way before pandemic, but now it's pandemic. I can't fucking tour and play a concert. I'd rather be on stage, like jumping in a crowd and fucking shit up. But hey, now I'm just slaying pussy and doing that instead. Like, cool. Like, but I think I've probably lost respect from peers in the metal or whatever, but I literally just do not give a fuck, dude.
They're on the wrong side of history and they're going to figure it out sooner or later.
I don't give a fuck, man. Like,
yeah, I feel like it's like in bad taste to judge a woman for doing porn at this point. Like, it's almost like, if you were to like go on social media and say like, oh, so-and-so is just a whore, or she's just a slut because she's doing porn or whatever, it will go over badly. And it's only a matter of time before guys are sort of judged by the same standard, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. All I know is like dudes like you and I, we're definitely like the minority because there's not a lot of like OnlyFans dudes,
It's just going to keep getting worse and worse, though. We'll look at this conversation in a year or two, and we'll be like, man, remember when we had that conversation? Because all these motherfuckers are going to figure it. But maybe I'm overestimating because maybe people really either have, micro penises or they can't stay hard. I mean, like,
you don't have OnlyFans because you got a small dick, boy.
Right. No, I take it for granted that it's so easy for me to do that kind of stuff. Like, for me to fuck a girl on camera is just like nothing. And also, people don't realize that it's like, a typical OnlyFans clip is what, 10, 15 minutes. It's like, if you can't stay hard for 10 to 15 minutes, I don't know what the hell you got going on. You got to see a doctor or something, man.
Go to the doctor.
Yeah, because I would always hear about like real porn star dudes who couldn't get hard on set, but I feel like that's probably a more grueling thing where they have to get hard over and over. Like,
and their sets are like 12 hours long.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. Anyway,
we're on the porn road now, baby. I love it.
Yeah, me too. Can't hate on it at all. So, anything else we need to know about that you have coming up? Obviously, you're shit is kind of frozen up because of COVID, but
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing I would like to let my fans know is that I have been heavily focused on music. Like I mentioned earlier, Attila has a brand new full-length album, fully recorded, ready to go. It's a banger. It's awesome. And then
do you not want to drop it till you can tour it?
we've been talking about when we should drop it, and I think just like I just don't like, you know how when you drop on Spotify or Apple Music, there's the year that the album released? I just don't fucking want 2020. I just don't like that year. So I think what we're going to aim for is like an early spring release. And I know like touring's probably not going to happen until another year or so from now. But I think we're looking at like a spring release. And then my side project, Bone Crew, for those of you who don't know, that is a rap. Like it's me and a rapper basically over like the heaviest shit ever. It's
really?
It's like if Black Tongue, that like slam metal band, met like fucking like Drake. Like so it's like top 40s rap with like the heaviest shit ever. And we released an EP a little over a year ago, and it went over really well. Like
and you put a different rapper on each song?
No, it's me and this my homie who goes by DaBoy J.
Okay.
And he's basically like one of the sickest rappers I know. He's underground. He's not super well known, but I know one day he will be because he's just the shit. I met him at Warped Tour. He's like, bro, I had this girlfriend and like she was into all this heavy shit and I fucking love it too. So now I'm coming to Warped Tour, and I was like, bet. We became best friends. He's just very like motivated, very creative. And then after we were friends, a year or so went by, and I was like, bro, I have like a vision for a project that's like very equally split between like rap, like top 40s rap, like trap beats, cool shit, and then just like the heaviest metal ever. We did the project. I didn't even announce that I was releasing it. I dropped it. A day later, we were being spun on XM radio every single day. Like Jose Mangan from XM, like Liquid Metal, loves Bone Crew. So he's already ready to spin the new album. The new album's been done for a minute. I'm planning to drop that October 30th. But that is like literally like top 40s rap, but with like random breakdowns and shit. It's kind of almost like ADD, but you won't skip through a song. It's very like boom, 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 like heavy rap, wild, like very energetic. So I'm excited about that. So that in itself, like I've written and recorded like 24 songs or so, and then not including all the features I've done this year and whatnot.
Right. If you could pick any rapper to hear over like metal type beats, who would you want to hear? Just to see what they did to it. I'd like to hear Thug on that.
Huh?
I'd like to hear Thug on some heavy breakdowns. I just want to know what
Young
the fuck
Thug
he would bring
is one
to
of
the
my
table.
favorite rappers of all time. I met him at Emo Night here in LA like a year and a half ago. He's the shit.
MGK bringing the community together right there.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I love MGK. I hope I can link with him while I'm out here. He actually has been one of like the coolest people to me in like the rap world, as far as like just always being a homie.
He hates me.
He hates you?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
I don't know why. Probably because of the Eminem thing. He came up to me at Rolling Loud with a lot of aggression. No, it's cool.
Okay.
I'm just like, I'm very amused by it. He's probably less amused by it since he attempted to smack a microphone out of my hand.
God damn. No, like I would say like fuck if I had to pick a rapper. Dude, I would just like to hear like Drake on a Bone Crew song, because the rapper that's in the project with me, DaBoy J, he kind of low-key sounds like Drake.
Really?
So I would like to just hear Drake like ripping a verse and then just like it goes into a breakdown, because it would just mind fuck the world. It's totally different. So
I'm down. I would like to even just ask Drake, like, are there any hardcore or metal bands or punk bands or anything that you've ever heard in your life that you're interested in? Because Drake seems like a massive music fan, but you only really hear him talk about more of the rap, R&B, soul side of things.
Dude, if Drake dropped a verse on a heavy metal track, how fucking cool would that be?
That would change the game.
It would change the game, and it would just, everyone in the metal world that doesn't really listen to Drake would be like, clout, bet, we love him.
And you know what? In a weird way, a lot of the like Brooklyn drill and like UK drill and stuff like that, like sonically, it's not so dissimilar. Like I could kind of see it like intertwining with guitar type stuff more so. Like I just could almost see it working more.
I mean, that's the whole thing. Like the worlds are mending. Like rap songs are having guitar in it.
It's only a matter of time.
It's only a matter of time.
I've always felt that way, but it just seems like, you know, because I've always felt like, yo, like death metal sounds so crazy. I would love to just like take a couple of great death metal songs and just give those to a producer and just say like, yo, make beats out of these. I would like to see what your beats made out of these would sound like. I just feel like there's so much possibility for it because it's such a unique sound for people playing guitar that fast and heavy, you know?
Of course.
I don't know how the fuck it would actually work out. I'm not a producer, but it seems like there's got to be something.
Anything can work. I brought you some presents.
Is it a case of Trulies?
Well, the case of Trulies is here. By the way, have you tried the lemonades?
I have never had a Truly. I've had many White Claws over the past few months.
You've never had a Truly?
No.
So, Truly is incredible. I'm going to give you the best.
My friends tell me, like my employees, I'll drink them all the time.
Love Truly. I'm going to give you the best flavor first.
Okay.
Okay. So Truly has more variety than White Claw by far, but my favorite are these lemonades. So this actually has less sugar, less carbs than the White Claws, but bro, this strawberry lemonade,
let's go.
That shit's gonna fuck you up, bro.
I'm ready, man. Yeah, I actually
it's so good.
I had the Coors Light White Claw version the other day. Have you seen this? Coors is in the game. Coors has like a White Claw. It tastes almost exactly like a White Claw.
Dude, everyone's getting in the game because this is gonna take over. How fire is that?
Ooh, that is nice.
You want to know X Games mode? You fucking take a sip out of that and you put a tequila shot in it.
Oh, that's X Games mode for sure. Yeah, I'll be jumping off the building.
That's fire. Love Truly, but that wasn't the gift. This is actually for me. You just stole mine.
No, my bad.
I'm just kidding. You're good.
I'll buy you another one.
No, I just did a new drop for my clothing line, so I wanted to give you a couple things.
Hell yeah.
Got a sick ass dad hat.
Nice.
It's like Sherbert, however you pronounce it.
Sherbert. Sorbet?
Sorbet, like a little bit of tie-dye. And then this shirt is a hentai nun.
Oh, wow.
So she's like, you know.
I like it, man.
She's tied up, but she's a nun and she's hot.
Wow. I'm fucking with it.
I wanted to get more stuff, but a lot of my shit's been selling out because I just dropped a new line.
Sick.
And then this is my favorite one right now.
Racist lives don't matter.
Racist lives don't matter with the Klansman hanging. Fuck them.
Is that the front or the back?
That's the back. The front's the pocket print.
Right. So wow, that's pretty badass. I'm definitely down with that.
Yeah, this one's fire. So
that's good. Fuck racists. Fuck the Klan, man.
For real. How does that even exist? Like, how are they gonna call ICP and Juggalos a gang, and like try to outlaw that? But there's still
the Klan's not a gang.
No, like the KKK is allowed to run free.
I didn't know that they weren't considered a gang. They seem like kind of like the ultimate gang. Yeah.
For real.
All right. Well, hey, I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much, especially for the Truly, but the merch as well. Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate it, dude.
I like to give gifts.
Fronzilla, man. Appreciate the interview. Everybody go check out Attila, all that shit. Drake collab coming soon.
Love you.
Appreciate you, man. No Jumper, coolest podcast in the world. Check us out on YouTube, SoundCloud, iTunes. Like, comment, subscribe. NoJumper.com if you want to support. Appreciate y'all. Another classic interview in the books. If you guys enjoyed this, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and head on over to NoJumper.com to support. Appreciate y'all.